Africa has long been the subject of skepticism when it comes to its ability to develop and compete on the global stage. Many have doubted the continent's potential to innovate, build, and thrive without outside support. However, when we shift our focus and look closer at the heart of Africa, its people, its resources, and its talent, we realize that the narrative we've been told doesn't tell the whole story. Today, the world stands at a crossroads. We've seen global supply chains disrupted, industries shifting, and economies struggling to recover. In the midst of all this, Africa has an untapped wealth of human capital and opportunity. While much of the West looks to Africa as a place for aid and investment, many fail to recognize that Africa has the potential to do much more. It can become a leader in the global economy, not by relying on the West, but by leveraging its own strength and resources. For a moment, that every Western worker was replaced with someone from Burkina Faso or another African nation. The narrative many hold about Africa being incapable of building its own future would be turned upside down. What happens when people with the will to succeed, the ingenuity, and the resilience of Africans are given the right resources and opportunities? The truth is, they can accomplish extraordinary things. Africa is not just a place of natural resources, it's a place of rich culture, diverse innovation, and entrepreneurial spirit. The Burkinabe people, in particular, are no strangers to overcoming adversity. Despite facing challenges like political instability and economic hardship, they've shown the world that with determination, Africa can rise. Their resilience is evident in industries across the continent, from agriculture to technology, from energy to entertainment. The potential of a continent like Africa is limitless if we change the way we think about development and growth. Africa doesn't need to rely on Western workers or expertise. It can build its own future, with Africans leading the way. What Africa needs is the opportunity, the access to technology, and the ability to train and develop local talent. By investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation within the continent, Africa can fuel its own economic engine. From the bustling markets of Lagos to the tech hubs of Nairobi, there is already a growing movement of African entrepreneurs and workers reshaping industries. When we think about the future of Africa, it's important to recognize the immense potential of its people. If every Western worker were replaced with a Burkinabe, or in fact, any African worker, the world would witness an unstoppable force for innovation and progress. It's time we stop doubting Africa's capacity to lead and start empowering its people to do so. It's not about replacing one worker with another. It's about understanding that Africa has everything it needs to thrive on its own terms. All it needs is a chance to prove it. The world is waking up to the fact that Africa isn't just a continent to be helped, it's a continent that can help itself, and the rest of the world too. So the question is no longer whether Africa can build. It's when the world will recognize and support Africa's ability to do so. And when that day comes, Africa will not only rise, but it will lead with innovation, determination, and strength. Africa has long been viewed through a lens of dependency, dependent on aid, on foreign expertise, and on Western models of development. But this perception fails to recognize the immense wealth of human capital that exists across the continent. With over 1.4 billion people, Africa is not just rich in natural resources, it is also home to a vast pool of untapped talent. Across Africa, people are brimming with ideas, energy, and the potential to drive change in a variety of sectors. The key to unlocking this potential lies in recognizing that Africa does not need to rely on Western workers or foreign expertise to build its future. Instead, local talent is ready and capable of taking the lead. Africa's human capital is both diverse and dynamic. From technology hubs in Nairobi to agricultural innovations in Ghana, from creative industries in Lagos to engineering breakthroughs in South Africa, the continent is already showing its ability to foster skilled professionals in every field imaginable. The world has often overlooked these efforts, focusing instead on Africa's challenges rather than its strengths. However, when we look closely, the potential becomes clear. Africa is home to a young, motivated workforce, eager to innovate and develop solutions that are locally relevant and globally impactful. The stereotype that Africa relies on Western workers stems from the assumption that the continent lacks the skills and infrastructure needed for self-sufficiency. Yet this narrative is increasingly outdated. Across Africa, there are millions of young people entering the workforce with higher levels of education than ever before. Local universities and training centers are producing graduates who are not only skilled in traditional disciplines, but are also embracing cutting-edge fields like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and renewable energy. These young people are no longer waiting for the West to provide them with jobs or expertise. They are creating their own opportunities and building their own solutions. One of the most striking examples of Africa's untapped human capital is the growth of the tech ecosystem across the continent. Cities like Lagos, Nairobi, and Cape Town have become centers of innovation where homegrown entrepreneurs and technologists are developing apps, software, and services tailored to Africa's unique needs. The African tech ecosystem is not just a reflection of a desire to replicate Western models, it is a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of African talent. The success stories of African entrepreneurs, such as the founders of companies like Jumia, M-Pesa, and Andela, illustrate how local talent can scale solutions that address specific challenges in Africa, while also having global relevance. Moreover, Africa's resilience in the face of economic and political challenges further highlights its capacity to lead. The people of Africa have faced colonialism, civil wars, economic instability, and health crises. Despite these setbacks, Africans continue to show an incredible ability to adapt and thrive. This resilience, coupled with a growing sense of confidence in the continent's potential, is what makes Africa's human capital so unique. It is a workforce that has learned to be resourceful, creative, and persistent, qualities that are essential in today's rapidly changing world. In the past, Africa has often been portrayed as a region in need of saving, but in reality, the continent is more than capable of saving itself, and even helping others along the way. Africa has the talent, the ideas, and the drive to lead its own development. What is needed now is a shift in how the world perceives and supports Africa. Rather than viewing the continent as a place that needs external intervention, we should see Africa as a place where local talent is already building solutions and driving progress. The time has come for the world to recognize that Africa's human capital is not just an untapped resource, it is the key to the continent's future. With the right investments in education, infrastructure, and technology, Africa's talented and skilled workforce can lead the world into a new era of innovation and development. Africa has long been defined by its resilience in the face of adversity. From the challenges of colonialism to the struggles of political instability and economic hardship, the continent has faced an array of obstacles. Yet time and time again, Africa has shown an incredible ability to bounce back, adapt, and thrive despite these hurdles. This resilience is not just a product of survival, it is also a key driver of innovation. Nations like Burkina Faso, which have dealt with internal conflicts, economic difficulties, and environmental challenges, exemplify how adversity can fuel the determination and creativity needed to build sustainable industries and foster long-term growth. Burkina Faso, a landlocked country in West Africa, serves as a striking example of resilience in action. Despite facing challenges such as political instability, a fragile economy, and recurrent environmental issues, the people of Burkina Faso have consistently demonstrated their capacity to overcome these hardships. One of the key aspects of this resilience is the strong sense of community and solidarity that exists among its people. In times of crisis, such as during periods of drought or political unrest, communities in Burkina Faso come together, sharing resources and helping each other rebuild. This spirit of cooperation is not only essential for survival, but also for fostering the kind of innovation needed to create lasting change. The country's ability to adapt and innovate under pressure is evident in many sectors. For example, Burkina Faso has made strides in agriculture, despite facing significant challenges related to climate change. The country's farmers, who are often operating in difficult conditions, have turned to innovative agricultural practices such as drought-resistant crops, improved irrigation techniques, and agroforestry. These solutions are not just about surviving the immediate challenges, they are laying the groundwork for a more sustainable future. Burkina Faso's focus on improving its agricultural sector is a testament to the country's capacity to innovate even in the face of adversity, and it highlights how resilience can be harnessed to create lasting economic impact. Similarly, the country has made efforts to diversify its economy beyond agriculture, with an increasing focus on industries such as mining, energy, and manufacturing. In recent years, Burkina Faso has experienced growth in its gold mining sector, which has become one of the country's main sources of revenue. This growth is a direct result of the nation's resilience and its ability to adapt to a global market. Even though the country is still facing challenges, such as limited infrastructure and a lack of access to international markets, its resilience has allowed it to push forward and create new opportunities for its people. The government has also shown a growing commitment to creating a more business-friendly environment by improving regulations and attracting foreign investment. Africa's resilience is not limited to individual countries like Burkina Faso. It is a pan-African phenomenon. Across the continent, nations have faced economic challenges, political upheavals, and environmental disasters, yet they continue to push forward with creativity and determination. In countries like Rwanda, which emerged from the horrors of genocide, and Kenya, which has become a regional hub for technology, African nations have shown that they are capable of not only overcoming adversity, but also thriving in the process. One of the key lessons that can be drawn from Africa's resilience is the importance of innovation in addressing challenges. African nations have been forced to think outside the box to overcome their difficulties, whether it's in the form of mobile banking solutions like M-Pesa in Kenya, or solar energy projects aimed at increasing access to electricity in rural areas. These innovations are not just survival mechanisms, they are the building blocks of industries that can drive sustainable growth for years to come. In the face of adversity, Africa has proven time and time again that it is not just a continent struggling to survive. It is a continent that can thrive, adapt, and innovate. This resilience is not something to be taken for granted. It is a powerful force that, when harnessed correctly, can fuel the creation of industries that will not only benefit Africa, but the entire world. By focusing on building sustainable industries and fostering an environment where innovation can flourish, Africa has the potential to not only overcome its current challenges, but also lead the world in shaping the future of business, technology, and sustainable development. Africa has long been recognized for its abundant natural resources, ranging from minerals and oil to arable land and water. Yet the true wealth of the continent extends far beyond these raw materials. Africa's greatest potential lies in its people, its cultural diversity, and the entrepreneurial spirit that pulses through its communities. This potential remains largely untapped, waiting to be unlocked with the right investments, policies, and opportunities. While Africa's natural resources can provide a foundation for economic growth, it is its vibrant cultures, innovative minds, and emerging industries that offer the greatest promise for the continent's future. Africa's cultural diversity is one of its most distinctive and valuable features. With over 3,000 ethnic groups and more than 2,000 languages spoken, the continent is a rich tapestry of traditions, ideas, and worldviews. This diversity is not just a source of pride, it is also a powerful catalyst for creativity and innovation. From the art scenes in Lagos and Johannesburg to the fashion industries in Dakar and Nairobi, Africa's cultural diversity has created a fertile ground for entrepreneurial ventures that tap into local traditions while also appealing to global markets. The fusion of traditional African aesthetics with modern design, for example, has led to the rise of unique fashion brands, music genres, and creative startups. These businesses not only provide employment and economic growth, but also help to reshape the global cultural landscape, bringing African influence to the world stage. At the same time, Africa's entrepreneurial spirit is one of its greatest assets. In many African countries, entrepreneurship is not just a career choice, it is a necessity. With high unemployment rates, particularly among the youth, many young Africans have turned to entrepreneurship as a way to create their own opportunities. Across the continent, small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, are driving job creation, innovation, and economic growth. These businesses often operate in environments where resources are scarce and infrastructure is limited, yet they continue to thrive by leveraging creativity, resilience, and a deep understanding of local needs. The sectors that are emerging across Africa are where the continent's true potential is being realized. One of the most promising of these is technology. The rise of digital platforms and mobile technology has opened up new opportunities for African entrepreneurs to address local challenges. For example, mobile banking solutions like M-Pesa in Kenya have revolutionized financial services, giving millions of unbanked people access to digital payment systems. In cities like Lagos, Cape Town, and Nairobi, tech hubs are emerging where local startups are developing innovative solutions in fintech, e-commerce, and digital health. These innovations are not just improving life for Africans, they are attracting global attention, with investors looking to Africa as the next frontier for tech-driven growth. Agriculture, too, remains a critical sector with untapped potential. Despite Africa's vast agricultural land and favorable climate, the sector is still underdeveloped in many regions. However, there is growing recognition of the need to modernize agriculture and use technology to improve productivity, increase food security, and reduce poverty. Innovations in precision farming, mobile agriculture platforms, and sustainable irrigation techniques are transforming the way farmers work. Africa is also becoming a leader in the organic food market, as consumers around the world are increasingly seeking sustainably grown produce. With the right support, Africa's agriculture sector could not only feed the continent, but also become a major exporter of high-quality food and agricultural products to global markets. Another area where Africa's potential is beginning to shine is renewable energy. The continent is blessed with abundant renewable resources, including solar, wind, and hydroelectric power, yet many parts of Africa still lack reliable access to electricity. This gap presents a significant opportunity for the development of clean energy solutions. Solar energy, in particular, has become a game changer. In countries like Kenya and South Africa, solar power is already providing electricity to rural communities that are not connected to national grids. The potential for scaling these solutions across the continent is immense. Africa has the opportunity to leapfrog traditional energy infrastructure and become a global leader in renewable energy, while simultaneously addressing issues like energy poverty and climate change. Despite these promising sectors, Africa's potential cannot be realized without the right support, resources, and infrastructure. Investments in education, technology, and infrastructure are critical to unlocking the full potential of Africa's people and industries. Furthermore, creating a conducive environment for entrepreneurship, including access to capital, regulatory reforms, and support for small businesses, will be key in fostering the growth of new industries. With the right strategic focus, Africa can harness its rich resources, cultural diversity, and entrepreneurial spirit to build a future of sustainable development and global leadership. The continent is more than just a source of raw materials. It is a dynamic hub of innovation, creativity, and potential waiting to shape the future of the world. Africa's greatest asset lies in its people, yet for decades the focus has often been on external expertise and foreign aid to drive development. However, the future of Africa's growth depends on harnessing the power of its own workforce. Investing in education, skills training, and infrastructure is the key to unlocking the continent's full potential. By developing a local workforce that is not only skilled but also capable of leading industries, Africa can shift from a dependency model to one of self-sufficiency and innovation, ultimately positioning itself as a global leader in various sectors. The foundation for any sustainable development lies in education. While some African nations have made strides in expanding access to education, there is still much work to be done in terms of improving quality and relevance. In many parts of the continent, the education system remains underfunded and out of touch with the needs of the modern workforce. To create a workforce capable of competing globally, Africa needs to prioritize education that equips young people with not just basic literacy and numeracy skills, but also critical thinking, problem solving, and technical abilities. This means adapting curricula to focus more on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, fields, which are essential for innovation and industrial development. Skills training is equally critical in preparing the workforce for the challenges of a rapidly changing global economy. Many young Africans graduate from school without the practical skills needed to succeed in the workplace. Vocational training programs, apprenticeships, and partnerships between educational institutions and industries can bridge this gap. For instance, countries like Germany have long excelled in vocational education and apprenticeship programs which equip students with hands-on experience that is directly applicable to the job market. African countries can adopt similar models, tailoring them to local industries such as agriculture, manufacturing, technology, and renewable energy. By doing so, they can create a generation of workers who are ready to take on leadership roles within their own economies, rather than relying on foreign expertise. Infrastructure development is another crucial element in empowering local workers. Access to reliable electricity, efficient transportation, and advanced communication networks is essential for both education and business. In many parts of Africa, inadequate infrastructure limits economic opportunities and stifles innovation. However, by prioritizing investments in infrastructure, governments can create an environment that fosters local entrepreneurship and industry growth. For example, improving roads and transportation networks can help farmers reach markets, while expanding access to electricity can enable tech startups to flourish. A well-developed infrastructure also attracts foreign investment, which can be channeled into local businesses and industries, further strengthening the workforce. The aspect of developing a capable local workforce is fostering a culture of entrepreneurship. In many African countries, starting a business is often seen as a last resort for those who cannot find formal employment. However, with the right support and training, entrepreneurship can become a powerful tool for economic development. By investing in programs that teach young people how to start and manage businesses, governments can help cultivate a new generation of local leaders who are not just employees, but employers. This shift from job seekers to job creators will be essential for reducing unemployment and driving sustainable economic growth across the continent. While the focus on external expertise and foreign aid has been an important aspect of development in Africa, it's time for a paradigm shift. Relying on foreign workers or experts to drive development often overlooks the potential of Africa's local workforce. Many African nations have untapped human capital that, if nurtured, can help build industries and solutions that are tailored to the continent's unique needs. Local workers have an intimate understanding of their communities, challenges, and potential solutions. When empowered with the right tools, training, and support, they are capable of driving innovation, creating jobs, and leading industries. The importance of local workforce development is becoming increasingly evident across the continent. In countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa, local talent is already leading the way in sectors like technology, agriculture, and manufacturing. African tech startups are creating cutting-edge solutions for issues like mobile payments, e-commerce, and healthcare. And African entrepreneurs are building businesses that cater to local and international markets. These success stories highlight the immense potential of a well-trained, locally empowered workforce. The key to unlocking Africa's future is to invest in its people. By focusing on education, skills training, and infrastructure development, Africa can cultivate a workforce that is not only capable of driving the continent's growth, but also leading industries on a global scale. As African workers become more skilled, innovative, and entrepreneurial, they will no longer be reliant on foreign expertise, but will instead take their place as leaders in a rapidly evolving global economy. With the right investments in human capital, Africa's workforce will be the driving force behind its rise as a global economic powerhouse. For far too long, Africa has been seen through a lens of dependency, with many viewing the continent as needing help, aid, or foreign expertise to drive development. This perception has often overshadowed Africa's own potential, particularly the skills, creativity, and determination of its people. The narrative needs to change. Africa doesn't need to look to the West for development. It can build its future with its own people leading the way. When African workers are given the same opportunities, tools, and access to resources as their counterparts in Western nations, they have the capacity not only to meet global standards, but to surpass them, leading the world in innovation, progress, and sustainability. The belief that Africa must rely on foreign investment, knowledge, or workers is deeply rooted in historical colonialism and its enduring legacies. However, in the contemporary world, Africa's growing youth population, burgeoning entrepreneurial spirit, and rapidly developing industries offer a stark contrast to the outdated notion that the continent cannot stand on its own feet. African countries are home to a wealth of talent, untapped creativity, and an understanding of local challenges that foreign experts may never fully grasp. The key to unlocking the full potential of the continent lies in shifting the focus from external dependency to internal empowerment. A shift in global perception requires recognizing the immense value of local knowledge, cultural expertise, and innovative thinking that Africans bring to the table. Across various sectors, from technology and agriculture to renewable energy and healthcare, local workers are already demonstrating their ability to solve complex problems and create solutions that resonate with their communities. The rise of tech hubs in cities like Nairobi, Lagos, and Cape Town is a perfect example of how African talent is not only meeting the challenges of today, but is also shaping the future. In Kenya, mobile payment systems like M-Pesa have revolutionized financial inclusion, while Nigerian entrepreneurs are using e-commerce platforms to tap into global markets. These innovations are driven by African workers who understand the intricacies of their markets and who are uniquely positioned to create solutions that address local needs while having global relevance. This ability to innovate locally is a powerful advantage. When African workers are given the opportunity to build and grow without being hindered by a lack of resources or support, they can develop solutions that are not only practical but sustainable. For example, in agriculture, African farmers are adopting technology that allows them to improve yields, manage crops more effectively, and minimize environmental impact. These innovations, developed by Africans for Africans, have the potential to not only feed the continent, but to feed the world, making Africa a global leader in sustainable food production. To truly unleash Africa's potential, global perceptions must evolve. It is no longer sufficient to view the continent as a beneficiary of aid or charity. Rather, Africa should be seen as a dynamic force in the global economy, where local workers and entrepreneurs are at the forefront of change. When African workers are given access to the same tools, technologies, and opportunities as Western counterparts, they can drive industries forward, not just in Africa, but on a global scale. This involves not only better access to education and skills training, but also investment in infrastructure, technology, and entrepreneurial ecosystems that allow businesses to thrive. Moreover, African workers have the advantage of an intimate understanding of local contexts, challenges, and opportunities that is often missing in the West. Whether it's building more resilient infrastructure, developing healthcare solutions that work within local contexts, or creating financial services that are accessible to the underserved, African workers have the insight and the ingenuity to develop transformative solutions. If given the same level of support and investment as their peers in the West, they will not only close the existing gap, but create entirely new frontiers of growth and opportunity. Africa's ability to build its future is within its reach. By fostering an environment where local talent is celebrated, supported, and empowered, the continent can chart its own course to development. The global perception of Africa must evolve from one of dependency to one of empowerment. When African workers are recognized for their capacity to lead, innovate, and solve problems, they will no longer just be participants in the global economy, they will be leaders, shaping the future of industries and driving progress on a global scale. In conclusion, Africa doesn't need to look to the West for its future. The true power of Africa lies in its people, their resilience, ingenuity, and creativity. With the right opportunities, resources, and support, African workers can lead the world in innovation and progress, showing that the key to Africa's development lies within the continent itself. Empowering Africa to take its place as a global leader begins with recognizing the untapped potential of its people. The idea of replacing Western workers with African workers, such as those from Burkina Faso or other nations, is not about undermining the value of foreign expertise, but rather about shifting the narrative and focusing on the strength, talent, and resilience of local workforces. By empowering Africans to lead industries, the continent can unlock its vast potential, proving that it is more than capable of charting its own course towards sustainable development and global leadership. For decades, African nations have been marginalized in the global economic conversation, often viewed as recipients of aid or foreign investment rather than as active contributors to the global economy. This perception is outdated and harmful as it fails to recognize the immense capabilities of African workers and entrepreneurs. When African countries are given the opportunity to nurture and harness their own talent, they can create thriving economies and industries that not only meet the needs of their populations, but also contribute to global innovation and progress. By shifting the focus from relying on foreign workers to empowering local talent, Africa can take control of its development and demonstrate that it is a force to be reckoned with on the world stage. The emphasis on replacing Western workers with local Africans, such as Burkinabe workers, highlights the importance of investing in human capital. Many African countries have young, dynamic populations, eager to contribute to their country's growth and success. However, for this potential to be fully realized, governments and businesses must invest in education, skills training, and infrastructure. The reality is that many African workers, especially those in countries like Burkina Faso, already possess the skills, creativity, and drive to lead in fields ranging from technology and agriculture to renewable energy and manufacturing. What they often lack are the resources, access to opportunities, and platforms needed to unlock their full potential. The case of Burkina Faso serves as an example of how local talent can be leveraged to create lasting change. Despite facing numerous challenges, including political instability and economic hardship, Burkinabe workers have shown remarkable resilience. The country's people are no strangers to hard work, resourcefulness, and a deep sense of community. With the right support and infrastructure, Burkina Faso's workforce could lead the way in sectors such as agriculture, renewable energy, and infrastructure development. By providing African workers with the necessary tools, training, and access to global markets, countries like Burkina Faso can become self-sustaining economic powerhouses that no longer depend on foreign expertise to drive their growth. Empowering Africa to lead is about recognizing that the continent has the ability to develop on its own terms. It's about moving away from the notion that Africa must follow the development models of Western countries and instead embracing a model that is rooted in the continent's unique strengths. Africa's young population is a huge asset, and with targeted investments in education, technology, and innovation, this demographic can be transformed into a highly skilled and competitive workforce that drives economic growth. Moreover, local workers have the advantage of a deep understanding of their communities, cultures, and challenges, which allows them to create solutions that are tailored to Africa's specific needs. This kind of localized knowledge and expertise is crucial for building industries that are not only sustainable, but also relevant to the African context. When African workers are empowered to take the lead in developing industries, the benefits extend far beyond the local level. Empowering local talent also helps to foster entrepreneurship and innovation, creating job opportunities and stimulating local economies. In sectors like agriculture, technology, and renewable energy, African entrepreneurs are already making significant strides. However, they often face barriers, such as limited access to capital, infrastructure, and training that prevent them from reaching their full potential. By breaking down these barriers and providing African workers with the support they need, the continent can unlock new opportunities and create industries that are globally competitive. In conclusion, replacing Western workers with African workers is not about diminishing the value of foreign expertise. It is about recognizing the untapped potential of Africa's people and empowering them to lead. By investing in local talent and resources, Africa can build its future on its own terms, proving that it has the capacity to lead industries, drive innovation, and contribute meaningfully to the global economy. Africa's time to lead is now, and the first step is to invest in the people who will shape the continent's future. Empowering Africa to lead is about more than just replacing workers. It's about giving Africa the agency to develop its own path to success.